That's what I call spiritual gravity. Spiritual gravity is pulling us home because we know what that feeling is like, and we're moving towards everything that can take us back in that path.
Yeah.
And so even gravitating around people, anything, even if whatever is a lesser light, we will gravitate towards a lesser light until we find the greater one. And that's just the truth of it. And that's why a lot of us found our way in the church, is because sometimes there were elements that the church embraced that was a lesser light that we could feel and we can recognize, but it was still off. And that's why we were still hungering and thirsting, because it wasn't satisfying us. It's like, innately we know what that feeling is, and that's why a lot of us would get caught up in worship or be on worship teams, or we were longing because we were generating a frequency that was drawing us into the place which we know is as truth, until at some point it's like, God, it's not lasting. Like, I go to a worship service, I get filled up, and then I leave, and then it's gone, and so I have to keep going back to that worship service so I can get filled, and then it's gone, and then it's like madness. Because really, when Anana comes online, this is the part where we can enter into rest. Is it in the place that Rick was discussing about outside that 12 dimensions? No, not yet. But it is a seed that continues to germinate itself, which is allowing that light energy to grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. So we become less and less gross material and more of that light frequency, and changing our anatomy, changing our whole expression. And that's why it's so powerful that this new priesthood, when it moves in Anana, you are actually planting seeds when you are in that frequency. Now, I'm not talking like going gray man, where you decide to limit your light and embody the egoic avatar and just go gray man. Because I think there's a time and place for that in Westworld, where sometimes we don't want to have our flame on too much for whatever reason. We just listen to the Ruka Dakucha, and it says, dim your light. Just right now, just dim your light. Okay, I'll go gray man, no problem. But then there's other times where it's like, flame on! And when we're in flame on, we're in seed planting mode. It's like talking to Rick a couple days ago. He's like, this is Johnny Appleseed. And I said, yes, it is. We're planting those seeds of Anana when we're embodying it, when we touch people, when we have conversations with them, when we rescue animals, when we go hug trees. I don't care what it is. It is planting the seeds that are lifting us up. And that's why that is like the gift from God, is our inside power. So 2 ways to look at that Bet Yod. When you're in Anana, the inside of you is where the power is. If you're not in Anana, that means you need to do the work on the inside of you, depending on what frequency you're generating. If you're in anger, that's the wrong passion, because that means it's from the land of naught. There is no anger outside of here. Anger is for this lower construct. Does that make sense? So this is one of those things where when we were told about Yeshua flipping the tables, and we were told, oh, there's righteous anger. No, there's not. Anger is not righteous at all. I don't care how you want to lace it, cover it up, it still stinks. There is no anger. There is no righteous anger. And sometimes we see the humanity of Ishu in the writings, because he was still wrestling with his ego up until the day he died. When he said, it is finished, that was about him releasing his ego. He took his ego all the way up to the cross until his death. He was still wrestling with it. Did he embody Anana? Sure he did. And when he was ministering and he was drawing people to him, he was in Anana.
Very difficult to shake.
But when he was in the temple and he was flipping over those tables, he was in his ego. And these are the conversations that we need to have so that we can recognize the energy and what we're doing. Do I want to sow the seeds of destruction in Westworld by calling it righteous anger so I can feel good for the anger that I did because I just flipped some tables? Wrong frequency. It is not of Anana if you're doing that. There is no righteous anger.